one day based on this and how strong it was. I mean, price really took off. You don't know how much it took off after that, January 23. And this is what terminated the trend. You have all these other mercury lines, they didn't terminate the trend. The trend kept going down until this factor convergence here.
Right. But no, I get that part. I get just trying to figure out whether to get factor convergence or not. So you started at 360, you had that at, I'm sorry, 45, and you put -1 and then 45 -2, and you just notice the lines came together?
That's it.
Okay, all right.
Not only that, but I noticed that was the precise low, and this is what terminated the trend, not the other ones.
But on the other factor convergence, you had 360 and 0.
Yeah, and 60 -1, I believe.
Right. So how did you know to pick up the 60 and -1, or were you just playing around with it? I mean, you could have done 180 at 1.
I was applying that concept to the bottom and seeing what it came up with, what I came up with. I was actually trying to find more examples, so I thought, okay, let me throw this on for gold, and it was exact. Yeah, I have a stock pick for everybody. No guarantees on this one. Don't send me dirty emails. Don't lose all your money. Only risk what you can afford to lose. Past performance does not guarantee future trading profits. Always use stop loss and use speculative capital only. This may not be suitable for all people.
Good disclaimer. Other ways can you put it?
Maybe hot.
But in our stock trader program, it's really a nifty program. I haven't used the word nifty in a long time. You can run searches, and I ran a search. You know, you can just pick any day. This doesn't matter, but I ran a search for the first trade charts. I'm looking for a Jupiter transit I picked the inner planets. I ran a search. You know, it's good to do this before you go to sleep. Let the computer do the work. When you wake up in the morning, you got a whole list of potential stocks that are going to go through a favorable Jupiter transit. The computer searches this whole database. And I got a list of about 6. Anyways, that's how you do it. I got a list of about 6, and then I went through them, and then you screen them technically, and you put your planetary lines on, and you look what's going on. And one of the ones that popped up on the list was Texas Instruments.
Were you looking for positive aspects or squares?
I was looking for positive aspects because I knew Jupiter was going direct, and I was looking for a turnaround back up in general around this period.
So you said you had the aspects at an angle set at 0? Is that what you had?
Yeah, the conjunction is the strongest aspect. So here's Texas Instruments. And then you click on the first trade chart. I only use the first trade charts, and if you want to really get more into this technique, you can read Bill Meridian's Planetary Stock Trading book. But what made this such a good candidate was, you know, Saturn tends to depress stocks, especially with first trade charts. And transiting Saturn was squaring the sun. In fact, it went station at 6 degrees Cancer, and it's just moving off a square to the sun. So Saturn brings undervalue and can depress the value of stocks if it's going through, or commodities, if it's going through forming a stressful aspect. And then if you notice Jupiter right here at almost 9 Virgo, this is today's transit, is going station right conjunct Venus. It's conjunct Venus, station on it, and then it's going to conjunct Mars.
You mean it's coming this way?
Yeah, it's transiting going this way, counterclockwise.
When you say station,
That means when a planet forms a standstill and goes retrograde or direct.
Oh, okay.
So Jupiter just went direct.
okay.
It's called a planetary station. So this is the perfect kind of setup. You want to find, if stocks are trending down and it's related to a Saturn aspect, you're looking for a bottom around the time of the aspect with Saturn, and then you're looking for a Jupiter aspect to come in that could bring buyers in and make the stock go back up. And Texas Instruments is doing that right now. It just completed a Saturn transit squaring its sun, which is one of the most difficult ones. And you've seen the downtrend in Texas Instruments from the chart I've been showing you.
Right.
And now Jupiter is sitting on its Venus and Mars. Okay?
Venus, I get back out of the neighborhood Jupiter too.
No, it's not going to go, it's going to move out. It's not going to go back that far anymore. It's going to enter Libra in September.
Yeah, I got a question for you. Okay, so we know that Uranus is sitting right on the 24, right? So, I mean, can we use this program to determine if there are going to be any stocks that we're going to benefit from Uranus being on the 24?
No, this would only tell you like stocks that are good candidates to buy or sell that will outperform or underperform. You got to use the other tools in the Rocket Trader to monitor price and give you the specific price points. The first trade chart just tells you conditions that are bullish or bearish for the stock.
But so you, I mean, for example, didn't Microsoft have some sort of big Uranus thing in its first trade chart?
Yeah, okay, maybe you're referring to like planetary lines or natal lines that could relate to price. You could set price lines,
Right.
natal planetary lines based on the horoscope. And I showed a chart for Texas Instruments yesterday with the Uranus natal lines on.
Yeah, that's not really what I was asking, but we know that, for example, that Uranus is sitting there stationary, or right at the 24 line, you mentioned yesterday it's going to be there for a while. Okay, how can we exploit that? Or how can we use that? I mean, other than we know we have planets, I get that we're looking for other planets to move across that, and that might affect things. Let's just say, for example, you got, another planet that's, I don't know, I think I'm going to ask some questions.
Well, the way we did exploit it. We have the Uranus 24 line on Texas Instruments, that time the bottom.
Got it.
That's the low right there. So we're looking for a buying opportunity because Saturn squared the sun, which depresses the stock usually. That's been working like a textbook. Texas Instruments has really sold off, been in a major downtrend. Now we got a positive Jupiter transit move again, which should increase the value in share price. So this is the reason why I picked this. And also, what's significant too is at the time, around the time Jupiter is going to be conjuncting Venus and Mars, transiting Venus is also going to conjunct Jupiter. Okay, and does anybody know what degree Venus is going to go retrograde at? I'll tell you, 26 degrees Gemini, the exact degree of Jupiter in Texas Instruments. So I got lucky with this search with this one. This rarely happens. So this is, in astrology, when you're doing forecasting work in astrology, you're looking for themes to repeat. So there's a theme here that repeats. It's transiting Jupiter conjunct Venus, and transiting Venus conjunct Jupiter. In fact, transiting Venus is going to go stationary retrograde right on Jupiter. So if Texas Instruments goes up until the 17th of May, around the time of the retrograde, that could be a profit point. That might be as inflated as it gets. But this is a real positive indication for if the trend continues for a top and like a nice two-week move. And this is how I do my forecasting work. So I kind of got lucky picking this one, but the stock trader did all the work for me. So once you have a stock pick, then you go back to your program and go to page 25. And you put on your planetary lines and potential price targets. Page, what did I say, page 35. 35. Now here's Texas Instruments. This is a 15-minute chart. I added the natal Uranus lines. I'm going to change the time frame to daily. And I put all these planetary lines on and price convergences, or areas to look for. I'm going to remove the Mercury lines. I'm going to remove the... Let me just take the Uranus line off here. Here's a 24 line. And you can see on your chart, you don't have to add it unless you want to, but I have on Jupiter, Saturn, sextile, mirror, the mirror lines -1, and Mercury, Pluto, 120 lines -1, and they converge. If you want to add those, we can do that. It's a good practice. You can add Jupiter and Saturn. That's 60. Mirror -1. And Mercury, Pluto, not 120, non-mirror -1. I'm doing this quickly. All the settings are on your price chart on page 35. So what we have here is a planetary price convergence zone around 26, and we blew straight through it in this case. And one of the reasons may be because once we took out the low here, around the 22nd, 23rd of March, the momentum just blew straight through that line. This planetary cluster convergence area was too close to where the previous low was. So once you took it out, the momentum was too strong. I think that's why it just blew straight through. But we made a precise low at the Uranus 24 line, with Uranus crossing the 24. And I also had on here Mercury. That's the wrong setting. I want to put on, I think, -1. There's Mercury. Actually, I took a shot at this one when Mercury hit the, we made a precise low at the Mercury-Uranus line. We change the setting to 45, if I can get to it, edit it. See, we had a planetary low based on the Mercury-Uranus aspect, but it only lasted a couple days.
Is there any significance when the mirror and the non-mirror lines cross?
Yeah, when mirror and non-mirror lines cross, those are strong points to pay attention to. And you can run both the mirror and non-mirror setting, and that's a good idea to do that.
Well, on mine, it looks like when you do the 24 -1 non-mirror and mirror, it's right at the bottom.
At 24?
Yeah, but your line seems to be, the price exceeds that.
I don't know, I would check the factor.
I got -1, 24 mirror and non-mirror.
Okay, I have factor 0
Oh.
on my Uranus mirror, non-mirror. So on your sheet here, I give potential price targets, and in this case, we did react to the Mercury-Uranus line based on the Mercury semi-square Uranus aspect, but we broke through that support and we went to the Uranus line. So it was either going to be this line or the Uranus 24 line, 24, that was going to bring a bottom, probably bring the bottom.
Oh.
Okay, and there's positive transits in the first trade chart. 24 should be a strong support area. So on the daily chart, we're looking for a break above 25.16. Did we get that today? Do you know?
I'm sorry.
on Texas Instruments?
We're at 2494 right now.
Was the high above 2516? Okay, so we're still looking for a break above that, the dynamic trio. Once that flips, that's your technical indication. You go long, your stop would be underneath 24. So your risk, maybe like 1.5 or something. So that's like 150 bucks. It depends on your entry point, just hypothetically speaking. Could be $150 a contract, single stock futures, or 100 shares.
So they got to get back on you, Don.
Maybe. See, I'll go back there and do it. That's why I'm bringing it up. So, thank you.
What was the other orange indicator thing we did talk about yesterday? I had to do with the nail. The other orange. Yeah.
This one?
Yeah.
That's the natal Uranus line, which I talked about yesterday. I added that. This is what it looks like. And with the first trade chart, and this is kind of a class in itself, but Texas Instruments began trading with Mercury square Uranus. So if you're going to put natal lines on, I'd want to put the Uranus or Mercury lines on at the 90 setting. I'm not going to answer emails during this class. Never know what you're going to get in an email. But here's Mercury, 25 Libra. Here's Uranus at 2245 Uranus. We've got the moon. So there's a Mercury, Neptune, Saturn conjunction that squares the moon and Uranus in Texas Instruments chart, and it also trines Jupiter in the 8th house. So I'd be putting, like say, Uranus 90 lines on. I'd be putting Jupiter 120 lines on. Venus and Mars is at the midpoint between Mercury, Neptune, Saturn, and the moon, Uranus. You could put on Mars 45 lines on. These are all planetary lines. So once you know how to interpret a natal chart, you can put on your natal planetary lines correctly on your chart with the right settings. So you have to learn how to interpret the natal chart. You can just print out what the aspects are and put it on that way. So it looks like hopefully the Uranus line is nearing the bottom, and what I like is the top was at the Uranus 24 line at $31, and the bottom's 24. So price has gone down basically 3 Uranus 24 lines, or $7.20 roughly. That's a pretty big move from that top. So I don't always know what price target, and you don't know what level price is going to be reached at, but you're prepared, and you're prepared to take action if you do your homework, you put your lines on. So I was prepared here at 26. Where we crash through, and then here at the Mercury-Uranus semi-square, and then here at 24.
And so, if we think that it may hit what price?
Well, I'd be looking and not be greedy. If we can get up to this dynamic trio, the next time frame, weekly, that comes together with Uranus, it's about close to $29. That would be a target. But we still got to break above 26 and slightly above like 26 and a half. That's the first level resistance. If we can't make it above that, then it's going to show some weakness. If we do, then I'm looking for the next target to be around $29.
Ideally, it come up into that line about the time Venus goes retrograde.
Well, yeah, that's in a perfect world. It could happen, but these are targets, and gives you that. But actually, we'll be looking ahead in the middle of May and looking at the planetary aspects and even adjusting our settings. These settings are based on now. I'd be adjusting my settings in a couple of weeks and maybe putting different lines and harmonics on and looking at what's going on and looking for a precise planetary high. And since the trend is still down in the higher time frame, right, we would consider short.
It's
Getting out.
been a contra-trend trade, even though things are positive.
Yeah. The trend's down, but once we break above the dynamic trio indicator, we have some technical confirmation in the daily chart. But we still have resistance around the, here it is, like 2880 to 29. And then if you're looking for an entry point, you know, I have in my example here, I switched to a faster time frame. If you want to get in as close to the planetary line as possible, on page 36, here's what happened. Okay? Actually, I was watching this trade during the day, and it was a great short going down. Look how well the high-low defined the trend going down once we broke. Once we broke through like 27. A beautiful trend down. And this is when I took this one trade, and a good idea, because I know the trend's down, is I sold half and moved my stop just below this line to break even. I wasn't sure if the Mercury-Uranus is going to be the low, or if it was going to be below, just below that at the Uranus 24 line. And we continued back up. I took half off around here, and then I put my stop underneath the Mercury-Uranus line. And with single stock futures, you got to be careful, by the way, because sometimes the volume is low, and my stop never got triggered, so I still have something. I'm glad that happened. And then I checked it, and I called and moved my stop underneath the Uranus line. But this was a minor reversal, and then we went up, and then we crashed through.
Is that what you said about first? A little bit under the Uranus line?
Those are my exact words. I gotta give them a laugh for the day.
Yeah.
That's a tough job they got, you know. Gotta humor them some way. No, I don't have a broker. See, so after we crashed through the Mercury-Uranus 45 line based on the Mercury semi-square Uranus aspect, here's the low. Hopefully this is it this time. There's Uranus. This is the 15-minute chart. I don't have today's data.
What sort of leverage you get for the futures?
Excuse me?
What sort of leverage you get setting an option?
It's a 20% margin, and each contract's 100 shares. It's like owning 100 shares. So I gave you an example on page 36, you know, using some of these technical tools, where you buy and where your stop loss would be. You're buying close to the planetary line. On page 37, here's another great one. You know, I don't know if I even took this trade. I had an appointment or something, and I was kind of angry. I didn't take this one. It was so strong. It was like a perfect setup. But the low occurs around the exact time of a Mercury-Jupiter aspect at a very strong planetary support, 1111 75. This support level is based on the confluence of the Sun-Venus 45 lines. The Sun and Venus were forming a 45-degree angle for, I think, much of March during this period. Neptune 360 line, there was some Neptune aspect, and the Jupiter 120 line, there was some Jupiter aspect. The planetary lines are always based on actual aspects. So this is the confluence of all of these planetary lines at the same point, and that was just a great buy. And that terminated the trend, and you notice the high was up here, also around where the Jupiter line is. We came down and we came back up to that same point. Okay, this is my live trading demo example, and I think we'll take a break. Are we due for a break now? Okay, we're due for a break now. We'll come back and do that and get into day trading the moon. And then we'll take another break and come back and, I'll just sit here and answer questions for an hour. I know a lot of you have been having them during the conference and in between, so I'll give you a whole hour to do that. And if I can't answer them, then I'll hand it over to somebody else.
I'll answer.
I'll let you answer the recording. We'll come back in like 10 minutes. Is that long enough?
Yeah.
So basically what we're doing here is we're looking for a trade setup. And on my live trading demo I did on CD, which you can review later after you go home, I'm trading the single stock futures for the QQQ. And I traded off that reversal we had, the planetary high based on the Mars square Jupiter aspect. Remember on the E-mini we had that precise planetary high? So that was a trade setup. Open a daily chart here. I'm going to add the Mars-Jupiter lines on so you can see the trade setup. If I see a major reversal in one index, I'm looking for the rest to usually follow, although the NASDAQ has diverged from the Dow. I'm just adding the Mars-Jupiter square. We're doing the QQQ. I'm making a point here first. And that is, we had a planetary high on April 5th. Remember the planetary high at the Mars-Jupiter harmonic? I'm looking for a top. So this is alerting me of a top, not just in the S&P, but in all the indexes. Okay? So now I'm looking for a top to be confirmed in the NASDAQ or the QQQ, right? So this is a trade setup. We had a planetary high on March 5th for the E-mini. Now I have all my settings already set up on my chart here. And so what I did was, I looked at the close of this price bar, and I had a Mercury line on, and I noticed the following day that the moon was opposing Mercury. And I put on the non-mirror setting, and nothing showed up. But then I put on the mirror setting, and it was a precise high. So it's the aspect the following day that price went to. And it's a really bizarre thing. Sometimes that happens. And that alerted me that this was a good candidate to short. So
Kind of a gap.
here, I'll show you. I'll go back here. I want to scroll back to April 6th. I'm going to switch time frames. Here we go. Right, let me gap down. I don't know if any of you remember that. But basically, I looked at aspect research. And this also has to do with day trading the moon, by the way. And we had the moon oppose Mercury, 180 degrees the following day. If you click on your live planetary clock, and you go back to April 6th. Okay, we have moon opposed Mercury. Okay, this is Pacific time. So I thought, well, what if I was trying to figure out what planetary high that was, because we had a Mars-Jupiter high in the E-mini, so I want to figure out what it is on the QQQ, right? So I threw in a Mercury line at 180, because we had the moon opposed Mercury aspect the following morning, right? And nothing's showing up at the -2 factor, but then when I change it to the mirror, look at that. So it's as if the future, a day later, is predicting the high of the previous day. It's just weird because it closely went right to an aspect that's going to occur the next morning. It went up to the Mercury line. And I've seen that happen before. So then we excuse me?
That's the close of the day before Mercury, right?
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
Then we gap down. And on my chart example, so there's a trade set up here. We had a precise planetary high based on the moon opposed Mercury aspect the following day. And that called the high on the Monday. Is that the 5th? Is that a Monday? You go back to your sheet on aspects.
Yeah,
Yes.
previously it was
Maybe it's a Tuesday.
No, Monday was the 5th.
Pardon me?
Monday was the 5th.
Okay.
We had a planetary high in the E-mini based on Mars-Jupiter. We had a planetary high based on Tuesday's moon opposed Mercury aspect for the QQQ. So this is a trade setup.
QQQ was trying to catch up with the other markets? Is that what it was?
I don't know, it formed a planetary high there. If you want to go back to page 16 on your aspects for April, you'll see during the week that on Friday there's a Venus square Uranus aspect. On Friday the 9th, Venus square Uranus. There's Sun semi-square Uranus and Venus semi-square Uranus.
Square Uranus.
Square Uranus. Now, Venus-Uranus aspects are high probability reversal aspects in the stocks. They're very strong reversal aspects. So sometimes price will respond to that a few days ahead or after the aspect. So I'm putting my Venus-Uranus lines on ahead of Friday's aspect. So I'm explaining the setup. And I'm putting on the 45 lines because the sun's also semi-square Uranus. And this is what it looks like. You had Venus and 45. I'm using -2. There's the Uranus price harmonic. And there's a nice convergence point with the dynamic trio and the Uranus line right here, which is support.
We're going to get Carlos to go ahead and set something up, so all you got to do is tap, and you go to negative, and you go back to positive. And also get a couple of, you can hit the mirror, just about the button,
Yeah.
have to switch all around.
Well, hopefully in the future that can become more automated and quicker as this continues to evolve. So I'm looking for a breakdown below support here at the Uranus line and dynamic trio. So on this trade, there was a setup, there was a planetary high confirmed on the E-mini and the QQQ at the Mercury 180 mirror line. My entry point is right here on this bar when you go home and look at your CD. I'm looking for a break below support, okay? And then my stop point, if that's my entry point with support, that turns into new resistance. My stop is just above the Uranus line, okay? And then where on this chart is your profit objective?
Next, Uranus line about 36, 60 or 50.
Yeah, the Uranus line, and what's this thick Venus line? The 360 line. So here's the first harmonic Venus line, right? So that's the profit objective. And this is the day, this is on the day of the entry, and then this wasn't a big winner. I only did 3 contracts for this example, and where did we come down to? We came down straight to the target. I also had the Mars line on at 90 because Mars was squaring Jupiter that week. And it comes together with the Venus-Uranus line. You see Mars. And that's the Mars 360 line. It's thicker. So this is really easy trade. I mean, you're looking for support, a breakdown below support. That turns into resistance. And the target is right here, where the Mars 360 line is and the Venus-Uranus lines come together. And that's the Venus 360 line. So you could even cover all your positions there and stop and reverse, or at least take some profit there. So, I'm just doing the stock futures, and I'm looking for taking maybe a longer term position. So I covered 1 year and just held a couple. And my stop was just above this line, the Uranus line. I didn't get stopped out, and I actually held overnight. But this was a profit point, and if you wanted to just close at the end of the day, you would close out here, or you could even consider going long. But that held support perfectly. That's how strong this line is based on the Venus-Uranus aspect that's responding to it. And then what happened? We bounced back up off of that, and where did we go? The next Uranus line. And we came straight back down again. And this was a volatile day. Venus-Uranus aspects are very volatile, any aspect to Uranus. The next day we gapped up. So I could have been in trouble there. So now I'm holding a couple, and we gapped up the next day. But I already took profit on one. And if you were just day trading, you could have taken profit on all of them, or even reverse position. But there was that planetary high confirmed on the E-mini. As long as we didn't break above that at 1150 or the Mercury line here, I'm not sweating it too much. And that could have been a potential loss. But after the gap down, what happened? We came straight down. So when we came back down again, I got back out of the other 2, I think 1 or 2 for about break even and a little bit of a gain. So I mean, you could have played this a lot of different ways, but this worked perfectly. We broke down through support, and this gave you a price target, profit target that terminated the trend and caused price to go back up.
Are there different vehicles, like this is the QQQ, of course we look looking at the E-mini and we're looking at the Dow. In certain times of the month, the year, the quarter, is some vehicles better than others? Obviously, like the QQQs and NASDAQ are technically oriented, and the S&P is more financial because like 30% of the S&P is made up of financial stocks and so on and so forth. Are we looking at different times of the year than the trade different vehicles?
That's a good question. That would have to do with certain planets that correspond to different sectors or indexes. So like with aspects related to the planet Uranus, you might want to look more to the tech sector or the NASDAQ or the Qs. The more traditional planets, like Jupiter, Saturn, usually corresponds more to like the S&P and the Dow. Right? Does that make sense? You know, but it's generally accepted that Uranus corresponds to the tech stocks and more NASDAQ. So that's something to consider. And since Uranus just crossed the 24, NASDAQ made a low there, that could indicate maybe that might outperform or be very strong if we continue to rebound.
What's the profit point on the QQQ? What is it, a dollar is what?
Dollars a dollar.
These planetary lines are 45 cents apart at this factor. So the sell signal, you know, I just sold a few contracts, and you could sell 9, 20, 30, depending on what you want to do with this. Is around 37, and then your profit objective is down here about, you know, it's about a 45-cent move. So it's not a lot of money, but if you're trading 10 contracts, that would be $450. Just on that one move, you know. But the point is, it's a perfect setup. We had a planetary high confirmed in both indexes. We broke down below support. That turned into resistance, and we hit the profit target. So the planetary lines were indicated the profit target. That's where you would cover some or all of your position. And I was thinking of looking at taking a longer term position, so I didn't want to take a long trade on that. But then I got out after it kind of gapped up. It kind of freaked me out because of the volatility, and just thought I'd call it a day the next day. And then what happened? It came straight down again. It came back down to support here. Then we came back up again. Then we came back down. So now we're in a trading range, and we finally break through. So, but does everybody get the setup and why that was a good short candidate at that time on that day? Yes? And it's actually a good thing if you're looking to buy or sell if planetary support or resistance fails, because that's a buy or sell signal. Right? And what I like about this entry level is it's right where the dynamic trio is based on the higher time frame. So it's breaking below planetary and technical support. So when that bar broke through, that was a great sell indicator. And then it's just staying with it until you hit your target and you're out.
You know, in pure technical analysis, you go through, let's say, a support line, so it becomes a resistance. Usually what you're doing, you want to wait until it goes back up to resistance, bounce off, and it comes down. You're saying that as soon as it goes through the planetary line, you short it.
In this case, yeah, I'm looking to do that because it's confirmation that we're going to continue up. Or you could wait until it comes back up to resistance and then sell. But then you could have missed the move all the way down, because sometimes it could come all the way down to your target after that point. Then you miss that entire move. So there's different ways of playing it.
Is this just for day trading?
This is, yeah, for day trading.
Part of the fact that you might have taken that run in the planetary line, let's say, is because you knew that the Mercury 180, that it hit that. At the end of the day, you knew there was an effect, that was having an effect, and then it gapped down at the opening, so that was showing weakness.
That was showing weakness.
So if that hadn't happened, you might not have thought that way about that kind of planetary line.
Yeah, I was looking for confirmation on the cues, and I just began investigating it. I found the Mercury 180 mirror line, and I didn't go any further because it was precise. And I looked the next day, I saw Moon oppose Mercury.
Right, and then it gapped down.
Mm-hmm.
So that,
Exactly. And Mercury went retrograde the next day, which was also strong. Right?
yeah.
Okay. Okay. So that's just a great setup, and you know, it defines the entry. And in your workbook and on your CD, it shows the. Here's another chart for the trade. I outline it further. I added the Mars. These are the Mars-Jupiter lines and the Venus-Uranus 45 lines. Here's the 180 mirror. Here's the sell signal. Okay, and here's your profit target right here. And that held support perfectly, and we bounced back up, and then you could even go long and take profits here again. But you got to trade more contracts if you're day trading or getting out more often, you know, to make it profitable. But if you're position trading, you know, it's a different story. Or trading a longer term swing, you can let it go.
I got a question, but let me get a little farther down.
Okay. And then on page 39, it shows the stop points and the profit points. So these are the nice kind of setups you want to look for. Okay, we're going to go to the grand finale here about day trading the moon and give you some examples of how to set up this technique. And I have some guidelines that I've created on my own. It's kind of my own little system I created for doing this. And, you know, there is no holy grail, but this might be getting closer and closer to it when you combine this system with your own personal transits, or what I call your own winning and losing trading degrees. Okay? I consider trading like gambling, and you win and lose at certain cycles, in certain periods. Your own personal cycles. And one of the things you can do is determine which degrees of the zodiac are more favorable or unfavorable for you for speculating. Okay? And I know expert traders that do make money during stressful times. And I had a professional fund manager subscribe to my service for a while, and he actually made money during his stressful times. But this guy has been doing this a long time, and there's the concept of relative performance. I mean, you could still make money if you're in an unfavorable period. It's just you're not going to make as much money as, say, you might normally make. It doesn't mean you're going to lose money. But when you're in a favorable period, you're much more likely to make more money, and that's a time when you might want to, risk a little bit more within your trading plan. And then if you're going through a stressful period, that's a time where you might want to take a break or trade more conservatively. But it depends on your trading ability, how that affects you, and your skill and experience. But I'm gonna click on my sheet here for the guidelines for day trading the moon. So this is a way of simplifying the planetary settings if you're a day trader. We're just going to put in the aspects for the moon, the planetary lines based on the aspects the moon make during the day. As simple as that. You can add more of the planetary lines based on the interplanet aspects if you like. That's fine. That works effectively too. But we're setting up the planetary lines based on the lunar aspects. We're determining the time of the lunar aspect for potential reversals that occurs during market hours. We're watching for a reversal off the planetary line, and if it occurs around the time of the aspect, this is the strongest setup. I've seen this happen over and over again. If you get a reversal at a planetary line around the time of a lunar aspect, it's price and time right in your face. Like here, right in your face. Do what you want with it, but it's going to cause a reversal. And that can be very tradable. And then one final step further is taking the degree of the lunar aspect that may produce the reversal and determining if it's a winning or losing trading degree for you. How do you know that if you're not an astrologer? That may require some back testing and determining. What I mean by back testing is looking at your trades in the past when you won and lost during the day, and looking up what the degree of the moon was, and looking for patterns, and figuring out when you won most of the time, what degree of the moon in the zodiac was it at? When you lost most of the time, where was it at? Or you can consult an astrologer like myself or somebody else, and they can look it up for you based on your aspects. I could tell you. Or you could figure it out yourself by analyzing your chart. So these are the 4 steps. And I have the first example on page 41 is on the E-mini. And this is how it works. There was a moon semi-square sun aspect at 10:12 Central Daylight Time. So you're setting up your planetary lines at 45.
So this is for what day?
Okay, the date is April 23rd, which was a Friday.
Here's a second.
And on your, if you can pull up your E-mini chart, if you have it, you can add your sun price lines at G45N-2. Notice the bottom on the previous day at the sun 360 line, the first harmonic sun line, at the dynamic trio. That took price all the way up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sun 45 lines.
So basically I'm going to aspect research for April 23rd and figuring out.
Okay, the way you do that, here I'll show you. I'll go to the E-mini. This is my continual contract, and I just have this morning's data. Are we still up yet, Rich? On you getting stock quotes while I'm doing this? What? That's a lot. That's a surprise.
6.75.
Okay.
11:22.
So you go to the date for April 23rd, and you click on Show Aspect List.
Oh, I got a question before you move off of that list. What's the difference when the moon is first and the sun, and behind? See how 8:12 is the sun is first, but on the rest of them the moon is first?
It's a programming thing we got to adjust.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
There's no significance.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just thought I'd ask.
Good question.
So you go to conjunction Mars.
It should read moon semi-square sun is the correct. It's fastest moving planet to slower moving planet is the correct way to say the aspect.
Oh, since the sun doesn't move, that's why?
Yeah, we are looking at things geocentrically. Yeah, the moon is applying to all the other points of the planet. So this is how you determine. See, this is the only aspect the moon makes during market hours. I mean, the moon conjuncts Mars, which is very strong. That's a high energy aspect. But that's after the close. This is during market hours. So it's as simple as that. And then
So you go put a Mars line conjunction, so 360.
so that you put the sun line on based on the moon semi-square the sun. Here's the aspect times. Let me scroll back here to the 23rd. If you don't know what the moon semi-square sun means, it's a 45-degree aspect. The program will tell you what it means. You can just click on, you can click on aspect research and it will tell you, here's the sun semi-square moon 45 degrees. So you put in the sun setting at 45, like we have on the chart example here. okay? And this gave the price range during the day. This held the high the previous day. We came down, and price trended lower, just below the dynamic trio indicator. But we're looking for reversal now at the Sun 45 line around the time of the aspect. And the time of the aspect is 10:12 a.m. And you see the bottom here? It occurs very close to this time of the aspect. And this might be a 4-minute, no, this is a 15-minute chart. It came in very close to the exact time of the aspect. So you have price and time going for you again. And that brought a reversal back up. It wasn't a big move, but it was from here to almost the next sun line, double tops. That was a 9-point move.
The gentleman the other day that had to leave early, he was showing us how on the E-mini, it just seems to bounce off, he called it the moon line, okay? But was it really a moon line? What it had, because I didn't know anything 48 hours ago, okay? So, was it,
For the last couple of days.
so was it basically those lines, had he found that an aspect, like you just found one, probably set that in for the day, but it just seemed to bounce off of the moon lines or whatever.
Yeah, these new people were using the moon at 24 setting. That's all they all know, and that's working effectively. In general, if you don't want to look up or know anything, you can start with that.
Just put moon 24 in?
Yes, but what works more effectively
Okay.
is if you put the moon in settings based on the aspects it's making.
Okay.
But instead of putting the moon line on, you don't have to. You can just put in the planet that the moon's aspecting, because those are the same points. If the moon is at 45 and the sun's at 45, they're forming an aspect, they're going to come together.
Right.
So you don't need to do that. It's the same thing. So I'm just adding the sun line at 45.
Okay.
And this time the bottom almost perfectly around the time of the aspect. And here's the vibration thing happening. It's a 45-degree aspect, right? It came up to the next 45 line, came down, and we closed almost right at it. I think that's the last 15-minute bar of the day between the last 15 minutes of the day. So there's a 9-point move, and that corresponds to the vibration of the moon-sun aspect, or the 45-degree aspect. It's 4.5, and times 2 is 9.
Why would he have chosen, does he just use moon 24 the whole time? That's it?
No, he hasn't learned anything else yet. There's more to it than just that. That's just a novice approach, but that can be effective if you use it with other indicators.
Okay. But constantly using moon 24 would work?
It works better than not having anything at all. I mean, it's not going to, the 24 lines is not going to hold support resistance all the time, but sometimes it will, and in the times it does, that can coincide with your other indicators. That can give you that extra edge you're looking for. That may be all you're looking for.
Great, thanks.
If you put the moon 90 degree line on there, 180, does that tell you anything?
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to play around with. So you scroll back to the open on that day at 8:30. You didn't know where it was going to go. You figured it was going to be at one of those sun lines at that time. You just waited looking for that, see if it's going to set up. But if you put a moon 180 on there,
Right.
where would that be? Can you put that on there and you see? Maybe we
Yeah, if you want to see it. So basically what he's saying is the moon's semi-square of the sun, which is a 45-degree aspect, right?
Right,
That's a harmonic within the square of 90 and 180.
right.
So we're going to determine if there's a stronger harmonic, which would be even a stronger reversal point based on that.
Yeah.
Right.
I looked at the price to go to that particular 45-degree line based on the moon 180.
Well, it would indicate what the stronger harmonics are.
Right. That's something you look for.
Yeah, you can do that. Or I'm just putting the 45 lines on and looking for a reversal at the line around the time, so it's not necessary. Not necessary.